This conference will now be recorded.
I can take a motion or two if needed.
Or the agenda, any additions?
No corrections or additions to the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A motion to approve, I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's passed. Approve the regular minutes from October 20th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for October 20th.
Made second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are passed. Monthly financial report.
All right, so we'll see some festival items from expenses in October. And I believe those are the last festival items we'll see be coming out from September's festival. Other than that, the electrical bills for the signage and pretty much normal beyond that.
Any questions? Discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the house schedule as presented. Made second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, old business, Rochester sales tax.
Yeah, so last month, stemming from the Ziva PA discussion, the topic of Rochester sales tax was brought up. But Tina, you wanted to know a little bit more about it and how much is left, some of the things, what it was used for. So in our packet,
So I know what it's used for.
I got a refresher for us. In the packet, in the attachments, everybody sees the Rochester sales tax revenue for economic development page. So that's a breakdown of when it came in, when expenses came out, and kind of what it was divided up for. So the long story short, on our monthly cash flow sheet, we approve every month Rochester sales tax number, and that number is 207,000. It's accrued some interest since this sheet that I just directed you guys to. So that's the answer to how much is left. As far as what it can be spent on, it was designated by council for industrial and business development. What I've been told is mainly expansion via land purchases, that type of deal. So that's just a little bit of background on the Rochester sales tax. And I mean, I learned a lot about it too, 2013. I don't know, if you recall everything that was when it came in and the history of it, but this is a good breakdown as far as money wise. Some of the things that came out, 50,000 went to the theater at the time, and then 100,000 commercial building improvement fund was created. And then you can see below the breakdown of how many requests were for that program, or I should say awarded with that program. And we were trying to hunt down, if you see in the bottom right, the remaining balance of the CBIF. There are 2 applicants that aren't on this list. So that number is roughly 3,000, not 23,000. And the one that Kim and I could find is 10K to 281 Main Street. We found that application, but then that number just rolled over into the 196 remaining.
Say that again? Totally lost them. The 196,000.
Yes. So, the remaining for the program that was initiated, the CBIF program, that number is not 23. It's more like 3. And then that 3 was added to the 196 of the breakdown in the middle of the left of the page.
Okay.
But then,
So what you're saying, what's remaining is 196,000.
plus the roughly 3 plus interest over the past few years, which is shown on our monthly cash sheet. And I believe the number is 207,828 and 72 cents.
With 100,000 of it plus its accrual
Yep,
since 2013
yep. So,
going to the land, the commercial.
correct. Yep. So our account number 421 is our Rochester sales tax.
Mhm.
And then on the right, very right side is the total amount. I'm looking at the cash sheet again, back what we just approved, the 207,828. That is the total amount remaining right now. And I was directed on a few different ways with our monthly cash flow sheet that something like the request at hand would not come out of the Rochester sales tax money. So what I did,
It would not buy.
yeah, because we were wondering if that money could be potentially utilized for certain types of requests.
Right.
And it's essentially, it wouldn't want to come out of there because it could come out of something else that's better suited for it. Did I attach this? So let's look at I created the Excel sheet. This is kind of elementary 101 breakdown of each
I'm
of.
trying to say
This helped me tremendously too, because when you
Cash flow
take a
for Tina?
fund account, it's how I understand too. My worst grade in grad school was finance or accounting, so I need some help sometimes. But so if we're looking at the 421 fund, it can be accessed by petitioning city council, but it's one of those things where if you're taking money out of the Rochester sales fund for another use, why, when you have another fund available, the funds can be taken out of.
Okay.
Essentially how it was explained to me is under the column of how to access, if the EDA has to petition the city council, it probably shouldn't happen at all. And this kind of, I'll say,
That
kickstarts.
doesn't make any sense because the city council puts the EDA in charge of those dollars.
Correct, but they're for a certain purpose. So
For the purpose that we made up
correct, but
as the EDA.
yes,
It's
Right.
very broad.
very broad. So ask me another question.
Why do we have to go back to city council?
Because, so for example, Rochester sales tax money was gifted to the EDA through the city council for certain purposes that the council,
EDA
no, the council,
dictated. Absolutely, it was the EDA.
no, the EDA requested certain funds from, because the Rochester sales tax money doesn't come to EDAs. It came to 17 different cities and it went through their city councils, and the city councils designated certain allotments of funds for certain purposes. Not all of it. Well, they might have been all of it, but it was for a certain purpose through all of it. Because like you wouldn't want to take, buy land for the CBIF program. The program was established for a certain purpose. You know what I mean? For reporting reasons. That's my understanding of it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not
So,
even a little bit.
okay. Well,
Dumb it down a little bit more for me.
we have funds for requests already established. We establish certain fund accounts, I should say, for certain purposes. If the question is, for example, a request for a PA system, can it come out of Rochester sales tax? It is better suited to come out of a different fund because of funds being established in certain ways.
For reporting purposes?
For
Auditing?
Auditing purposes, for reporting purposes, accounting purposes, for.
And what is that fund, and does that fund have sufficient dollars in it?
So,
And let me take that one step further. We're going to be talking about the budget for 2022. Are we making sure that these types of expenditures have dollars allotted to it for next year's budget?
so yes, to the second question. The first question is what fund would it most likely come out of? It would most likely come out of our 250. Because that's the one that makes the most sense, which was told to me. It's a revolving loan, other 404 account. Both of those are kind of similarly used for the same purposes, for business subsidies, for gap financing, for program initiation, for requests for assistance. Because I don't recall which one of the 250 or the 404 is broken down with, remember the topic of our promotional expense slide item, how we said we wanted to increase that from, I want to say it was 64 to maybe 10, that discussion. That is a subcategory of one of these two, because each one of these accounts sometimes are broken down into smaller purposes. you know, yeah, you know, I mean, office supplies is a fund under one of these, you know what I mean? Things like of that nature.
But I think I'm confused because they're labeled revolving loan accounts and we don't want to loan them the money. We want to pay for the system.
Correct.
If that's the desire, correct?
So what you're saying is that 404 or the 250 are labeled as revolving loan accounts, but there's some sub-accounts in there that aren't necessarily revolving loan accounts.
To that, I believe that is correct. I believe that they were labeled revolving loan accounts whenever the EDA established them as revolving loan accounts, because that makes the most sense to have funds being in revolving loan as opposed to forgivable. You know what I mean? We don't, you know.
Why does it make more sense?
Because, so for example, back in, no, I know.
Nope.
This is good. I just,
Like, we've been here for a long time and we're
I
like,
just learned
what?
all this.
Especially after you've done this research.
So, for example, the 250 fund was given us by the state back in the early 2000s. So I learned that through research, for example. We have 157,000 of it remaining. When the state or when anybody gives you money, a private entity, a state, federal government, et cetera, you get it until it's gone, right? So in a way to keep money coming in, this is banking, right? You want to give out loans, you can get the money. So revolving loans means, for example, if we wanted to initiate programs for businesses, we loan them money, we get the money back. We just continually have money. And when we exhaust all our money through loans and we don't have any more to loan out, that's when we qualify for more funding from higher entities like the state. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for example, back to the budget discussion, how I said, or how we all talked about, we would like this, that program or money for requests.
Unmuted. He's trying to figure it out.
Just push the button.
There.
So in theory, between our funds available to the EDA, if we had them all out on loans from programs or whatever the case, buying land, we would have $0 to currently give. Then we could request more money from the state because it looks like we're allowed to receive more money because we don't have much. You know what I mean? So you want it to be a revolving loan over a forgivable loan, because if you just keep giving away money, you're not going to keep getting money, or you won't have any money. So you
But if
want,
they have to pay it back, then there's money in there, then they
that's
won't
if
get
it's
any
a
more.
revolving loan, not a forgivable loan. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
but then they won't give us more money at state level.
If
There's
it's-
money being paid back.
We give away some of the money that's been paid in.
You can give away, we can give away all of it if we want to. It's just, in my mind, this is an assumption. It was established as a revolving loan because we always want to have money to be able to give money. Do you know what I mean? Because when you give out loans, you get interest, and then that's where, once we get more interest accrued, we can start giving away X amount of thousand here or there for forgivable reasons or extreme circumstances. We want to be self-sustaining is like, I think the overarching theme of all the money that we're talking about here. And that's why my assumption is the revolving loan, because when you loan out money, you usually get it back and then you could use it again and again and again.
I think I understand mostly what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense why there isn't a separate account, like a promotional account,
Well,
that this type of specific request would come out of and not out of a revolving loan fund.
that makes sense to me too, and I don't have the answer for that.
Or
There is the
shift
promotional
this
expenses.
Rochester sales tax dollars into a different loan.
Under
item.
403, you have a promotional expenses, and that's only.
It's a line item, not an account, right?
6,000.
Sounds
So it's a line item, not an account.
Yes,
Yeah,
Is this really
it's under
considered a
account
professional
403.
expense though?
No, it's a
everything's.
But.
EDA.
But what he said,
economic
if
development.
it wanted to come out of promotional, that would be a line item under 403.
So that one's 403 for promotional
Because
expenses.
that 403 is basically your operating budget, I guess.
Well, economic development in its entirety is subjective too, as far as to your comment.
Right now, you back to the EDA budget.
Yes.
Yeah, that was under the
Yeah, well,
404.
you
she said.
mentioned, yeah, Brian mentioned promotional, and that's what promotional is.
From a-
Not that you can't
from a line
overspend,
item.
Not that you
Yep.
can't overspend in a line item. And then we just shift money from, yeah, I don't know if it comes from revolving loans or where it comes from at that point. Those funds.
Another, because I had similar questions too in my, I'll call it crash course of budgeting with Kim before she left. Let me see, back to the cash flows. I mean, if you could see my notes, I really asked her a million questions about what's, pluses and minuses as far as expenses, debits and credits, kind of breakdown. And in theory, this took us probably a half hour, and I asked her if we could do this for the entirety of our EGA budget, to which she sighed, but she probably would do that.
So I guess, like, do we make a motion that we want to send up to a certain amount and then figure out where it's coming from? Or do we need to know where it's coming from with the motion?
For the PA system
Yes.
request?
Well, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. I mean, right now, he's still explaining the Rochester sales tax clarification to us, and we've gone off on 15 different tangents. I mean, you're right.
That's what we want to use the money for.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
that's coming up, but in order for us to understand where we're going to get it from, I'm not sure I'm still in agreement with some of your explanation, but that's beside the point. So basically, we have $207,000, 800, whatever it is here, in our Rochester sales money.
Left over, because it's now,
Still in the account.
You know,
Not left
15
over,
years.
that's what we have in the
Earmarked
account right
for
now.
something else.
100,000 of it was
Industrial.
earmarked for that industrial park.
Okay.
No,
That-
100,000 was for the CBIF. The remainder was, where's the one sheet? This one?
Remainder was for the-
Yeah. Industrial slash business development.
Allocated, the remainder was-
We have 196, almost $197,000 left
For industrial
for the
development.
industrial park.
Technically 207.
I don't care what you call it. It's for the industrial park. Okay. So we still have that. We have $197,000. And then we also, out of the $100,000, you say we have about 3,000 left.
From the CBIF.
That's what, correct, yep.
And another question is, why does it show 23,000 and two applications aren't listed?
That's a great question. So this Excel sheet, 23 comes from the 76 number, but the 76 number has no formula behind it. Dan King in 20. So first of all, this Rochester sales tax revenue for economic development is from 2018. This is an outdated one. That's why I say it's 207, not the 196. This is just to get us in the picture. We don't have any updated version of this besides our monthly cash flows. That's the update that's needed because you care about the total number remaining type of thing. This is the history of what came out of the RST dollars.
You're saying that there's two applications that are missing. So it's not the full.
That came later though, after 2018.
We're saying this is two sides of the same coin. This is the history. It is, let me rephrase it. This is the only history of the RST dollars expenses from the receiving it in 2013 to when this document was made.
And Kim is certain that there was two applications that we granted $10,000.
There's one $10,000 you can find a voucher for, and it's for 281 Main Street. And I'm not familiar what business that
Is
is.
that Pete Lex?
It could have changed hands too since then. And then she believes that there's a second one for 10K, but we couldn't find the voucher for that. Regardless of whether one expenditure or one more grant was given out or 10, the remainder is the remainder, and the remainder is on the cash flow sheet. She said it's 207.
That's our budget.
On the cash flow sheet.
Okay, so the CBIF RV, this was all of the business loans that were forgivable after 10 years.
Yep, this was the CBIF breakdown, the Excel at the bottom of this page.
And which one of these numbers is 207?
None of them on that sheet, that's
Yeah,
from
not-
2018.
It's this number plus all of the interest that's accrued.
Because even though all of these on the bottom, these approved commercial building improvement program applications, none of those are revolving loans. Those were all grant type things, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
As long as they went to 10 years or whatever.
Yep, there are stipulations behind them.
Forgivable.
Forgivable, yeah, if criteria was met.
Okay, so bottom line is,
The actual simple bottom line, this is how it was explained to me. we have multiple funds with a surplus of $100,000 in them. All of them can be utilized in any capacity the EDA in unanimous, or not unanimous, but consensus decision wishes to utilize. You know, we have revolving loans established for the, like I said, the assumption earlier, it is probably the best use of any type of EDA fund. There in the past, there's forgivable monies that have been given out. There's requests, there's subsidies, but we have on our cash flow sheet that amount of money.
So then help me understand what is the bottom line that's allocated for the industrial?
Technically 207,828.72.
But how can that be if there was one of these that were paid back, then that would just be in
That's
the
what I'm
loan.
saying.
And
I
the
feel like-
EDA didn't say,
I feel
hey,
like
yeah, let's
this
put that
amount
back into the
change. The amount that we allocated for industrial development should still be
$100,000.
196.
Well, $100,000, right? Isn't that what we allocated?
No,
I think
the
the
remaining.
200,000.
It was the, Donna saying it was the remainder, which was 196, something around, something or other, and then the interest since then is going there.
Okay.
And maybe not all of them
So like
forgivable
Mike
as well.
Brinkman, who paid back his $10,000 forgivable loan, where's that $10,000?
Well, they're forgivable. I don't think any of them ever came back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one
Oh,
did.
they Okay.
Yep.
And there was 2 of them that came back.
Good question.
So I'm just saying,
Yeah,
so
these are good
there's 20,
questions.
you know,
Just, yeah.
potentially $20,000 that I'm not sure that we just said, yes, let's give that to the industrial park versus,
I would
Hold
guess,
on.
that 196, and now with 207,
sure.
does include what was repaid, because I don't
I would
believe
think
all of
so.
that would be interest, even on that amount. You wouldn't accrue that
I
much
think that was
interest.
kind of my thought as well. Okay,
Dylan's trying to piece this together with limited paperwork and common denominators. Kim, allowed to do a whole lot.
well, we can always call Neil.
Like
That's Neil now.
I said,
We could call.
this is the entirety of the history of what we have available. And so in order to fill the gaps, you know, I'd set meetings with Kim to follow the money
Sure.
trail.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always have an explanation of there was an application or,
Sure.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of piecing the puzzle together.
I guess
Backdoor.
my point is, I think we should see more defined accounts for the EDA so that we know how much we've got to spend on a PA request, how much we've got to spend, and then we know exactly which account it's coming from. So,
I agree.
so we can look at a line item in our budget, for instance, and it says, you know, you've got $2,500 to spend, you got a $500 request in front of you.
Yep. I think another thing we could do, you know, and like I said, in the process of understanding the financials more, which we'll get to an update later in the agenda, but, you know, we take that course, or maybe we have a crash course with Kim. I think kind of along with what you're saying, amendments or completely changing some line items or funding amounts might be necessary, because when was the last time that was done?
Right.
You know, it seems like every year during budget season, we increase or decrease a dollar amount, but the fund or the line item designation remains the same. Maybe some additions are needed, or maybe some old ones need to be eliminated that never change. Those types of deals.
I think that also goes back to kind of that EDA strategic plan of where do we want to ensure that we're allocating those dollars to continue to meet the projects that we've identified as priorities from an EDA perspective. I think if we lost that
It
a little
looks to me the
I
way,
don't remember.
it looks to me the way it's laid out is it's either a revolving loan when you give dollars out, or you fit within the line items. If it was promotional, you've got $400 left. In the
For this year. Yep.
For 2020. Otherwise, it would be a revolving loan, forgivable, could be a forgivable loan to Zego for this.
That's right. I don't feel like it belongs in promotional.
No,
Necessarily.
But the-
And nor does
the
it belong as a
assets of the city.
revolving loan.
agreed.
Yeah, but something you should discuss moving forward is slush fund, but a
Mhm.
a fund with dollars that you can
Mhm.
allocate easier without doing a revolving loan.
It sounds like we've got that, right? We've got two revolving loans, according to Dylan, we can use however we want, whether it's a loan or whether it's a gift. Plus, we got $3,000 left in the, this business improvement account that we set up.
But again, I
Plus,
think
we've
there's more
got
than $3,000.
$207,000 or $208,000.
At least 13,000.
But we can set it up as a forgivable loan.
Set up however you want.
So when I look at the budget and I look under the revolving loan, let me get back to that page. The 250, what Brian is saying is under that 250 header, there should be subdivisions of promotion, sales tax, telephone, blah, 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 all those things, correct? Is that what you say?
Just an itemized,
Because it's a
Yeah.
line item in your
What's
budget.
I'm pretty sure it
Included
does,
in that
because when you look at the budget for the city council and the EDA, there are those.
Numbers.
that
Yep.
that Brian's looking at.
Is that 250?
250 doesn't include much.
So under 250 is loan principal, loan interest, interest earned.
Yeah, there's not much.
Those funds don't have, that comes under operating, which is.
It's the 403.
403, yeah. That's got all the money.
Yeah.
This is just purely, I don't know why there's two revolving loan funds. We have to get an explanation on that. But maybe one of those funds should be a discretionary spending or something.
So Brian, that document that you're looking at right there, that's the monthly budget Bible that you refer
This is
to?
the full
Year
budget.
annual.
It's actually the 2022 proposed budget, but it shows the years past.
But it doesn't list everything.
That's the one we've looked at.
Yeah,
I
that we
know,
want to do,
I
we
know,
want.
I know, but I'm used to
We
looking
know how to
evidently at a
spreadsheet for
different.
dummies, so Tina can
budget.
read it.
Yeah, so there's the revolving loan fund, 250. And then you've got a couple of abatements that's showing on there. And
So the revolving loan,
And
250, if we have to access through
403,
the
this
state,
is
that's how
basically,
does that?
call this the operating budget. This
Okay,
is
don't
the
look at revenue. Let's look at expenditures.
Yep.
Give me, all right.
expenditures,
Yeah,
so
it's right
professional
here, it
fees,
says how to access state.
compensation.
But this is the account that we,
These are the things that I'm talking
Not.
about.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, yep, and then here's where promotional comes in.
Got it.
So, and then back to what we're just asking, the
Yep,
question,
Cover Bridge
what's the difference between the
Festival,
two revolving
spending.
loan accounts? One of them is the ADA established however many
Revolving
years ago.
loan
That's
account
our 404.
is,
is it 250 or a 404?
and that doesn't have the
Separate
expenditures?
accounts.
Nope, neither one of them, there's not any expenditures in there, because you're just writing loans on it. See,
Yeah.
404, see, loan principal,
One,
loan
when we
interest,
receive
interest
that
earnings,
from them.
expenditures,
But we don't
that's
have to go
where
back to city
loans that
council
went
to
out
spend it.
would go.
Okay.
And that would be the, the last one,
So,
sent out was 2007.
And those show back
On the
here,
ADA.
404,
See,
the
'cause
Main
that's
Street
what I did
rentals
was
and the
I went
281 Main Street.
And those are being paid back, so that should go back into revenues here, so.
A lot of these questions.
Okay.
had-
Which is why this one is the one that confuses me, because this 281 Main Street that he was talking about is a 404, not a 421
Little bit,
Rochester
put it
sales
into a
tax.
spreadsheet of all my notes.
I know.
My understanding of
Okay.
My job to know all this,
Conversations
and
with
good luck.
the two, the 403 and 421
Yep.
need to be asked to use differently if needed to be used differently.
All right, let's all pull back here. So any other questions? Everybody crystal clear?
No, I
There's
think,
mine.
I think when we get to 8A, that's going to be a very good topic to be discussing.
Yeah.
So are we still on old
I mean,
business?
you know, if we had these documents, the same documents that you've given us today, so that we can refer back to your elementary spreadsheet and our monthly budgets and the budget that Brian's have. If we had these on the agenda for next month and requested that Kim be here to give us a detailed explanation and answer our questions, can we request that?
Yes, very well, but I will say that based on the questions tonight, you won't receive an answer for everything. Kim's only done the budget for 1 year.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah, but she knows where the money's been allocated for all of the years.
She does, but depending on why historically was this created this way. I
Perfect, we
don't
can
know,
always
so
call
now-
Neil, he's right up the
Yeah,
road.
you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying.
And that's
So
what she'll-
Neil was the one who always did the budget.
Oh,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah,
Maybe
so-
Neil needs to be here.
So we have, no, we have the questions, we'll get those.
That one.
Kim will call me.
Kim will call Neil.
Right,
There you
we
go.
subpoena him.
You can have Pat go pick them up.
Like a congressional hearing here.
Well, and I know, I was going to save this for 8A discussion, but when we get together next month with Kim, hopefully, is it possible we can restructure a little bit how the accounting is set up for, especially for EDA? So, because right now, I don't think any of us are understanding it.
I think that's a great option.
Is that permissible, you think, Brian? anything
Yeah,
else?
she said that many times, we can change, you know, these funds are kind of set, they're standard.
Yeah.
Sure.
But how they're used and how they're structured and how they're reported.
How we understand them.
And a lot of this will change when we get a new financial system too.
Sure.
Reporting is going to be much easier. We'll be able to show you graphs, whatever you want, to say this is how much money you have here and there. It'll be much easier then.
And I would say, knowing from my position is the most stressful thing to come in unprepared to an annual meeting. We have got to do our best to send Kim our questions beforehand, so she is not getting this.
So we don't inundate and attack her.
That is like heart racing, oh boy.
I'll be the first one to admit if I don't know something, but every answer I procured today was not my own. You know, it was through meetings with her.
It does, we're gonna have questions that she is going to come back with. I have to look that up, just.
She's in New York, I can call her, she probably.
Well, she's on vacation, leave her alone.
I'm sure she'll be able to come to next month's meeting, but she had surgery the week before, so
Oh,
if
geez.
she doesn't make it.
Oh,
It's
she's-
on her hand,
she's
but
coming
like,
back
Oh.
the next day.
well, but about the time we say it's gonna be flawless,
Yeah.
she'll get an infection or something, yeah, I'm not
Amanda.
gonna say it out loud. I'm not gonna say it out loud.
You know, and the other thing about the questions is sometimes you don't know the questions until it's.
Came up after his explanation to me. And by me getting my email and I look at this sheet at home and, I don't,
Like, yeah, let's get-
everything seems fine. Because I
At
only
least
have to
embezzling money, we
convince
know
myself.
that, at least money's all there.
That's why you have audits.
All right, the other thing is, do we want to, would that be a meeting that should be a separate meeting? Just a budget meeting, just question and answer work session, maybe not even a meeting, but a work session, just to kind of educate us and express our concerns and see what's what. Then we don't need another meeting, anybody, I realize that, but I hate to add that on to, not that we have such a huge agenda anyway, more normally, but it was an idea.
When is that session offered that we can all go to on
Webinar.
the webinar?
So that's on the agenda too, and the update on that is the Park Board and the Planning Commission have all wanted to enroll in the course as well, which we wanted to get over that 20 number for subscription purposes, just to save money. So my update today was probably anytime we can just sign up
Oh,
for it.
it's on demand?
It's on demand.
Okay, so maybe that would be, we want to do that and then come back for a budget discussion. And then so we have, so we're like,
It's
oh,
just,
like
you
you
know,
understand
computer
this,
at
but
home. I think it's an hour, 20 minutes, I want to say it said
at
it
least you
was.
understand
That's all.
spreadsheets and
It was about 2 hours. Yeah.
dollars.
Crystal clear.
Well, it's going to be probably very generic.
Right, but at least it gives us like, then we can be like, oh yeah, we should be using our revolving loan fund for blah.
Yeah.
Because now we know what that is.
The other thing with it is, it's not tailored specific to anything of our budget. So the goal of it was from Park Board perspective, EDA perspective, and then when it was recently brought before the Planning Commission last week, just to have a solid foundation. So when we come to meetings with Kim, she doesn't have to explain maybe an elementary, hopefully, public finance question.
Well, at least so we all have the same, nomenclature. We know what, when she's is talking about this, we know what that is. We know
Yeah,
what that
something like
equates
that.
to in an accounting perspective, from how she's using it or how
Because
it should be used. Because I'll tell you, when Mark Mangan comes and does our auditing, I was like, That's March
When
1st.
when is
There's a
this
lot
new
of-
system coming into play?
Well, Miranda, you gotta pick one yet.
Oh, well, we have one that we very, very, very much like.
And we kind of want to wait till after the audit, right? Is that what the last?
Well, Kim, so yes, Kim wanted it, in the perfect world, she wanted it to happen
In March,
at the beginning of the year.
or January.
No, because it's like your taxes, it's the year.
Mhm.
So
January 1.
if we could make it, take effect right away in January, that would make audit season really moving for the next year.
Let's get it on the council agenda and approve it
No, I don't know.
or discuss it. See if they want to.
I think,
Right?
well, I think the
Jeez, I
reason,
think we're just like a,
and the reason I don't think
thoroughfare.
it's been brought to council quite yet is I think she's still kind of trying to tweak the quote.
Yeah, because modules, there's different modules and she's looking at or you guys are both looking at a permanent module right now for online permits. So there's a little bit of work to be done, but yeah, so that will answer your question. Ideally January 1st, but if not, yeah, sometimes after.
so the next
Okay,
few
let's, did we ever decide if we wanted a special meeting or not? Let's just wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think maybe in the first of the year, we could, if it-
all right.
that was necessary.
Okay, let's move on. Zebra request for assistance. Chris, do you want to add anything to?
I was gonna offer it to her because she's been waiting.
I just learned a few little tidbits since I was last year in front of you wonderful people. I spoke to the owner of the company and he did take a look at the city and the location of the city hall. He said ideally the master unit, which encompasses a computer and some Cat5 cable and kind of that goes on the roof, should be located on the main street where the receivers are. But he did look at the Google Maps and said he thought it could work from the turret up here, probably down to in front of Goose or, the sight line was there. So that was his 2 cents, so to speak. I think if there was really anything else. Not really. Oh, I think you asked if you could add modules. If you wanted to add something down in the
Oh,
park.
yep.
He said, yes, that is an available option
keep
down the road.
Adding as we go.
He questioned, would you want to run the same music downtown as you were doing at the park? And in that case, you would probably need 2 separate units, or probably you wouldn't run downtown if you were doing down there. So, but it is an option if you wanted to add more transfers.
Has Zeba had commitment for any other dollars or anything?
Not at this point, no. I did approach the Lions. I think they were receptive, but I have no idea what their budget allows, and I had nothing. So,
Has Zeba themselves committed any dollars?
no. We don't really have a lot of funds it would be minimal if we did. So,
So present, you're looking at still a cost of 12 grand and you've had 1,500?
and when I spoke to Mike, who owns Aeronetics, he said there, at that time, which was maybe 4 weeks ago, there were 25 people on the list for 2022 because they're backlogged with equipment. So if we want to move forward, we should get on the list.
And does that require a down payment to them or is
I
that?
didn't say. So.
Does he have any type of, I'll call them utility averages? Costs above and beyond the products themselves?
Well, there will be, initially, there will need to be a computer from somewhere to run this system,
Yep.
whether it be a used one or a shared one or whatever, cable. And then obviously the antenna is part of the package. But on a yearly basis, you're looking at your Wi-Fi.
Yep.
And whatever system you want to run the music, whether it be Spotify or songs or YouTube, whatever.
This
they have.
subscription we're saying, yeah.
So my estimate is about $1,000 a year between the Wi-Fi which would be about 600, I mean, based on $50 a month for Wi-Fi. Unless you guys,
Do we still get it off? Are we getting it off? Did we do anything with the trading with the tower, or did we just make them pay us?
LTD broadband, I
Yeah.
think they're up. See much advertising. No, we didn't do anything.
They just paid, gave us a check.
We've got charter.
here in City Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be an annual expense.
Is that an annual expense that Zeba's willing to take on?
I guess I could take that before the committee and see if that's. Are you thinking you don't want to have it here in City Hall? Is that kind of what you're thinking, or?
Well, if it's here in City Hall, do we really need an extra computer? Or would it sit at one of the stations that's already occupied?
Communications person.
I was just noticing how long your job title is getting.
You can take the music out.
But really, as we upgrade computer systems, there's probably ones that aren't terrible that could run a Spotify software program. But I would be inclined to think, once it's kind of up in place and we have some parameters around it, that it would kind of become, I mean, like the ongoing, these subscriptions or whatever would become more of a city light item because it's truly benefiting the city. And then it's, it's kind of, or
Thinking about like the
EDA, but I
Wi-Fi, like why wouldn't you just,
put it on with the rest of our Wi-Fi.
I was gonna say, I mean, what difference does it make if you're playing music?
Mhm.
Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi.
So then somebody would just start up in the morning at a certain time. People would move on.
Yeah, do it, Miranda. Rich is requesting AC/DC.
Yeah, but if inappropriate things get played, don't come looking at me, because that would not. But then that's maybe what that's kind of what committee kind of
Well, and does it have
helps
like
to say,
yeah.
this is what we're looking for.
Does it have like a mobile application where somebody remotely could control it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. Give Chris
Yeah.
the-
Then I could just be the host.
There's a mobile app.
Don't you think that makes more sense for that to come out of the EDA or city budget
I
than
think that you guys-
Zeba? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Come on, Zeba, that ain't money.
Yeah, see, that would be a line item on the EPA budget moving forward. It would be much cheaper than that. Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, 'cause we're already planning to pay for the power anyway. I don't-
Because it's already there.
Okay.
I mean, paying the plug in the electricity, we won't be able to separate it.
This is kind of a silly question, but did Michael's by any chance confirm that those outlets are mine?
Oh, yeah.
Better be.
Could be your next guy.
It's not like some of your prices.
I know, it's like, aren't they going up?
Goes out and guess what?
That's where the street fund needs to go.
Hmm.
Or we could spending in that one.
Okay, so
Chris, you got $1,500 from the trust. I mean, when you're asking these organizations, and I don't recall if you did with us, but do you have dollar amounts in mind that you'd like to see each organization? I mean, you're a long ways from 12K.
We are. No, I don't. I'm kind of thrown into this because Sue's running this and she's in Florida.
No.
So I presented to the Lions for her without a specific request, just if they wanted to contribute. I think her plan is to go to the community if we can't get funding anywhere else and see if there are some community members that would be willing to, help us get this done downtown. So
this is where I think we have $12,000 in Rochester sales tax dollars left over. That would be a perfect use of those dollars.
I think what I'm thinking is I would love to see us, contribute, even if we said up to $10,000 and just allow other people the opportunity to give. I would like to see Zeba put a little bit of skin in the game if, just because that's the, where the request is
Fair
coming
idea.
from. But I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it is a city thing and I don't know.
I agree. I would
I'd
say up
kinda
to
like to
10,000.
see it as kind of a matching.
Oh,
So, we throw out, we'll match 5,000. If you can raise 5, we'll match that. So,
It's a good idea.
Well, the other thing is, you said there's 25 wait lists.
25
People,
cities that have.
as far as the timeline, did he say any reference? Is that 2 years out or something?
No, he's hoping next year, early next year.
You can do
That's
25.
no idea.
Yeah. Because to Brian's point, if a match and fundraising was needed and say 25 equates to a year, there's a year for fundraising. So then that makes it more feasible instead of they had no wait list and you need an answer now.
My concern is the longer that it drags out, everything is going up exponentially as we speak. So I'm just concerned it's going to get to be more and more in the longer we wait.
I'm concerned that if you do a match like that, that they're not going to be able to raise that much money. I just feel like I said, if Ziba themselves doesn't have that funding, I mean, we're talking, is it local businesses who are going to be donating? Is it community members who are going to be donating? There's only so many organizations in town.
Well, and if we go up to 10, then what they've raised, then it's not such a big ask for businesses that get literally hit up every day to, fund something for somebody's kid or foundation, or I can't imagine how many people come to your door every day about, we're selling
I
everything.
feel bad that I have so many kids going to ask me. Sorry, Miranda.
So, but I think we as a city would benefit from this for sure. I think we have the funds. I'm super glad that this group came forward with this idea and are willing to take it forward, but I'd be willing to throw in a bit more so they don't have to ask so much.
And this isn't setting any kind of precedence for any other kind of requests?
Does it benefit the city? Then I think we take them
I think it,
request by request.
so then I think we should take Ziba out of it and say Sue Ziegler came forward with this idea that, I mean, she's not even a downtown business owner. She is just a member of the community who shops in our local downtown district, who thinks we would greatly benefit having, especially Christmas music at Christmas time. Or during their summer, it's Thursdays, first Thursdays, once every month. Like, there are people who are coming to our community, walking around. It's like, make them happy. Happy people spend money.
Do you have an idea, Chris, of potential organizational donation or donors? I mean, you said the Lions, potentially Ziba, EDA. Is there any other than going to the individual businesses? That's the next thing?
And the community members.
Is there a chance that you could find out or have Sue find out if you can get on the list without a down payment? So that would give us, like, say, maybe a month to think about it, or don't you want to wait that long?
I don't know. Do you want a motion? That's what I'm ready to do.
We can motion to get on the list at the very least, especially if there's no down payment. Because you can always get off the list if, say, next month everybody said, change their minds. You know what I mean? You want to put a dollar amount down right now. Motion it.
I just think we're delaying the inevitable. I think we're all in agreement that,
Great idea.
yeah. So it's just a dollar amount that we're
Yeah, that's it.
juggling around, so.
And I agree with you that I think Ziba needs to have some skin in the game, and I agree with Brian that it would be nice to not have us, even though we have the money, that we could help out. I don't think it's our responsibility to eat all these projects either. We've got, maybe we need,
But we're looking at $10,000 and we know that $10,000 was paid back from the Rochester sales tax dollars. That's it. That's all that's left
from Main Street.
from Main Street. This is kind of that last project that fits into that bucket of original intent of spending.
That's true.
any
No one knows
chance
exactly
that
where the dollars are.
CEDA would have any sort of grant programs I know you got a number of people that
Look into
are
it.
proficient in that, but
My initial thought towards PA system is it's a unique category of
Mhm.
how would you tie that towards grant money?
mhm,
And I also have a struggle relating it to economic development. I'll put it that way. So that's why I struggle seeing if there's
I think
grant
it's
money.
completely economic development.
Happy people.
Respectfully.
I completely understand, but my problem with it is the monetary amount for the limited use. Because it's like Luck, Wisconsin, you guys presented on, it's a 11 to 2 or 11 to 3 type of thing. That's my comments. I'm not a voting member.
yeah. You don't see it benefiting the community as a
I
whole.
think 12 grand in PA system, I would love to see alternatives. You know, I wish there was more aeronetics, you know, more competition in their market space. That's my thoughts on 12 grand for speakers, you know, I mean, you can get $300 portable speakers that you can put on the light post yourself. And if you need 6 of them, 8 of them, 10 of them, you don't need transmitters, you don't need mixers for modern technology. That's my thoughts always go towards, is there an alternative? Is this the best use of request or money expense, you know, that type of thing. So that's what got me thinking. And I went and did some research into aeronetics and similar companies, and aeronetics does seem to be a premier one in the, I'll call it PA outdoor space, but I love the thought of music downtown. I hate the thought of music downtown costing 12 grand. There's a big disconnect for me.
Can I ask, if you bought speakers individually, how do you?
Pair them together.
Yeah.
Bluetooth capabilities. So that's why you don't need wires or any transmitters or mixers and things like that, because we have Bluetooth now. You don't even need Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is slower than most Bluetooth. It's
So Bluetooth comes from?
the speakers themselves, just like your phone. So say for example, I buy a JBL speaker and I put it on whatever light posts were proposed for the current plan. You know, obviously install them up there so they don't fall down. I connect to it and play music.
And it will reach from here to in front of my happy place?
You just like the current request, you probably want to get a few speakers. Are you talking about the being able to hear it or Bluetooth?
Being able to reach Bluetooth.
So that would come down to someone on Main Street's phone type of thing. You know what I mean? One of the businesses down there because you can pair speakers together. I mean, people have home audio systems. People have systems that go multiple levels of their house. People have, you know, commercial spaces have speakers and things like that. So for that scenario, it would be, you know, say you go on your phone and you play music that day. But it wouldn't have a PA capability. You know, you wouldn't be able to talk to your phone through the speaker. I mean, maybe you could.
It has to be on somebody's phone.
Maybe your phone could, but not everybody else's could.
No, but I mean, it would still have to be somebody's phone.
Yeah. Yep.
And then pretty soon you got
But random people
37
can-
businesses playing 37 different
Right.
channels.
But anybody can pair to those speakers.
Usually for certain Bluetooth devices, when someone's connected to via Bluetooth, you also can't connect. I mean, I have that problem every summer, I'll say, when I'm with friends and we want to connect to a device and we can't because the original person's connected to it still and you still can't connect to it. You know, like I think about being at the boat at the cabin. Oh, my buddy is still connected via Bluetooth and he's not on the boat and we can't connect to this dumb speaker that won't let us connect to it. That's just an example, you know.
But then the process
little more
of pairing to that
technology.
speaker, if Chris is out of town, is a nightmare because then you gotta go up and reach the speaker, hit the pair button, pair it on your phone, right?
Or you turn off your Bluetooth or disconnect before you go. And this is just an example. I by no means a speaker expert, you know.
So that's really why this company is in this space, because they do
Yeah.
that for large spaces and
And no offense,
easier.
but you
No.
young people tend to make this stuff sound really easy and it's going to be no problem. And you know what? It never
Nope,
works that way.
I'm going with the company.
I have the same retort, but opposite.
Heard this song before. Okay, anyway, what's the next step? Any more discussion? How do we want to proceed?
So do we want Chris to go back and see what it's gonna take to get on the list and then we come back to the December meeting with a proposal? Or do we just
Or we could.
do it right now?
Feel strongly enough about it that you want to make a motion to earmark X number of dollars tonight? We can do that, vote on it, passes or doesn't pass. She can take that information back and say, you know, I've got this number of dollars in hand, even though we're not going to cash her, but
Right.
bounce her a check tonight, but, you know, you'll know that we're committed.
So I would make that motion up to $10,000 for a downtown PA system.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to earmark, contribute up to $10,000 to the downtown broadcast system. Any more discussion?
Bless you.
We don't need to worry about where it's coming out of. We'll figure that out later.
Come on, Tim.
We got money all over the place. All
It's somewhere.
right, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion's passed.
And the only reason for my nay is that we maybe should take Dylan's advice and research some other possible. I'm not against it at all, just that if we can find a lower cost alternative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, we're not gonna write a check tonight, so we
Correct.
can
Like-
still,
For
do
Like
it.
Dylan's
downtown
got Tyler
system, not-
research for you. You could probably send it right out the door. Yeah. Make copies.
I don't just give it to her and then I'll give her a starting place.
Oh, no, copy
These are
it.
portable speakers, though they're not, like I said,
Oh,
they're
we
not gonna
want
have
all
transmitters
letters.
and mixers and stuff because portable speakers, it's all gonna be digital instead of physical. But here's a comparison.
Looks like you have to be within about 33 feet to.
Is that what it'll?
So they do speakers.
Please check the book.
100 feet, mine will work as 100 feet.
Honestly, that was kind of their original plan, was to have like the centralized location, like in phenomenal.
So my.
Like in a building, if I go outside the building, like if I'm at my store in my tin building, if I take my, it shuts my.
Yeah, so it's 33 feet.
It almost had.
So that's what I thought, you know.
There gotta be some kind of a commercial area.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Visitors Guide 2022.
Is that really?
Did we skip one?
No, we skipped one.
Mhm.
New business A.
Going out of order.
Purposely? Did we skip it?
Sorry. New business, EDA RLF program.
So this one, as far as the attachments, is the majority of them. That's why the packet's a little bit longer this month. But over the past few months, essentially, I've been working on a program because we have so much money and we have limited money going out and I want more money going out. So therefore it comes back in to get us more money and to be able to use more money. One of the programs I've been thinking of and I've been working on with the county EDA is I'll call it commercial rehabilitation and business development type of program, similar to that of the CBIF. Funny enough, I started doing the groundwork on this program before I knew the CBIF existed. So I wish I would have used some of the framework from that one to expedite some of the process of things that I've created. But long story short, I created a new application that I believe can be used for a multitude of different programs. And I just called it business subsidy. I'll say this is a draft, what you guys are looking at right now, because I still want to refine it. My goal is to start handing out these applications to interested parties next year because we have money that we should be using. So the application is the first 2 pages. It's pretty comprehensive. What I would request of you guys is not to give you too much homework, but if you guys see anything, maybe Brian, with your expertise when it comes to the terms and conditions, let's call them. If you have any recommendations on additions, amendments, or subtractions, things of that nature, what would you like to see to make it easier? So essentially, the first part is the application. It's a 1-page or 2-page application, and then I'll call the last part the terms and conditions. And what I did was I pieced this together again with the county EDA and through my time on the housing subcommittee for the county level. I took a bunch of different programs that I really like and I added it together in this capacity. So that's kind of the update. there's no motion or anything needed. I just wanted to, it could be a business item, line item in the future, once we start getting some of these applications in. You know, because I would love to receive these monthly, you know what I mean, just so we could vote on who needs assistance.
Who's coming to you to ask for this application?
No one knows it exists as of now.
That's what I'm.
Who's your target?
So for this one,
Projects, like, what would they come
I like
for?
I would be targeting every, I'll call it non-franchise business in the city. Do you know what I mean? So like, I would love in the future,
Just use my business for an example then. How are you going to target Countryside? Or why would Countryside come here and ask for this application?
does Countryside have a need for money?
So any need or a specific need?
Provable need, like, so for example, the goal of this would be more so gap financing, not forgivable loan purposes, a revolving loan. So for example, if Countryside had a need for an expense that they did not have the capacity to do at this time, that's why this type of program exists. So, you know, I think about the downtown historic district and area. If a building needed a facelift, not every one of those owners has, you know, $100,000 laying around type of thing. So at least this could aid in any capacity. I have it currently set up as a 2-to-1 matching type of deal, like Brian was talking about earlier. It's not necessarily all of us filling the gap. They have to have a need, or, you know, there has to be a gap. But yes.
But with the low interest rate. correct?
Banking business now?
Kind of, yeah.
Funds.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't include these. These were basically gifts.
Those were, but like when you look at, on here, what's Main Street rentals? Or,
Yeah, and the vet clinic and Zumbrota Ford and
Yep.
Carnegie, or all those and what they were.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you know,
that's how we get rid of the money that's in there so that we can get more money from the state. And it's that whole process of you gotta spend it to get more.
qualify for more. We won't
Yeah.
for sure get it more, but you know.
Yeah.
The other thing is
To
that we're
ask for
talking
more.
about
Yep.
gaining interest. Even if we use 10K for a certain project and then they pay back in 5 years, we'll have that 10K for another project, you know, just the revolving aspect of it. I think we should be utilizing the money more. So I've been working on this for the past couple of months and I wanted to finally bring it before, you know, you guys to review. Like I said, if you have any comments or anything, I'm pretty confident in it, but I know there's some changes just off the top of my head that I want to make to it. Perfect. I would love to.
On the first page on the application, since it is a revolving loan, can we change that to business revolving loan application instead of subsidy?
Correct. Yep. And like I said, I didn't know what necessarily to preface it with, but.
Yep. And then I just know from lots of years of experience, people filling out applications, if they're request a lot of information, you're not going to get it. So I would try to streamline it to the information that you really need for your reporting purposes.
Correct. Yep. One of the things I put it in there, you know, yep, number one, applicant meets with city staff to discuss the proposed project. So the premise of this kind of goes along with our building permits. We have a building permit, whether you want to put in a window or build a new house, you know, as we're a bigger municipality or the county will have specific permits for specific reasons. I'm trying to make an all-encompassing one. So I'm trying to think of kind of all the things. And then what I'm going to do is, you know, say in a year from now or through this application, the data that it will collect will tailor it to a certain need. Because as of right now, you know, what are the needs? This kind of whittles them out. But anyways, to your point, my goal is for someone to meet with me and say they're not building a building for this request. Well, guess what? You know, I don't need that part filled out. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
If they're going to meet with you and you're going to help them with that,
Yep.
then that's great.
And then under the umbrella of the planning commission, I do that for our development applications too, because we have an all comprehensive development application, you know, whether you want to subdivide your house or rezone your land or annex into the city. It's all on one. And I usually sit and meet with someone to get the information that I need.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's one of the things that I hate is when things are wordy, like you said, especially when you're looking at an application, but it kind of serves a multitude of purposes as is. But yeah, my hope is to streamline it through.
And then just a couple more comments on some of the loan terms and conditions and that type of thing. I like the 10-year term. I like the interest rate tied to prime. Prime right now is 3.25%. So that's a pretty decent return since we're not getting paid probably more than 25 basis points or 0.25 on the dollars that are in the bank, so to speak. So, so I think that's fine. The eligibility criteria, I really don't have a strong opinion about that. So yeah, I think it's a very good start.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just appreciate the work and the forcing to put this together. Dylan, thank you.
Well, it's a lot because like I said, like ideally in a perfect world, we have a Main Street program because we want to preserve our downtown Main Street in a different capacity than any other business. Perhaps maybe, overarching business and commercial rehabilitation one for the Lindsay's businesses of the world. They're not in our Main Street, but if they needed help, things of that nature. You can also create a program for anything. You just got to do it right so it happens in the right way. You know what I mean? But in an ideal world, we have 4 or 5 programs going at one time. I'm getting dozens of applications a year. We're continually dishing out money and continually getting in money, and it makes life a lot of work for the better of the community.
And you have to go back to the state or somebody and ask for more funds or show that you need more funds. Yep.
Well, that are qualified to receive more funds
Yep.
is kind of the best way to put it.
Yep.
Very good. I agree. It's a lot of work. Appreciate it. Visitors Guide 2022.
So we last talked about this probably a month ago, trying to steer discussion towards what we should consider for next year. And I recently had a phone call with Pete at the News Record. And he's kind of wondering too. So I told him I'd for sure bring it up now because he told me the story of, this past year's visitors guides were kind of rushed at the end type of thing. He said it was finally decided at the beginning of this year and then punched into print a month later. And
Not exactly how any of that happened, but it's his perspective.
That's what I was told.
Sure.
So I told him I'd get it started this year. We're in November instead of trying to make a decision later than that. But to steer discussion, and we've already had lengthy conversations tonight, it seems like the sentiment in previous months was to kick back from not doing 10,000 again, which I would agree with. We still have 3,000 visitors guides left. My initial assumption of what we should do on a yearly basis is, so let me preface this by saying, you never usually have more visitors guides than you do members of the community, so that should be a benchmark for us.
3,500.
Yeah, so I was thinking we should go to a third, but then, we have 3,000 right now. I don't want to lose 3,000 books because somebody wants the newer one. My recommendation would be no print visitors guides for 2022 because we still have 3,000. I believe a better plan needs to be put towards
2-year kind of.
Well,
324.
I would love that too, because then you can use them on the back-to-back years, especially if some of the dates are more static instead of dynamic. But not many people want print visitors guides. So I would love for a motion for a digital version that we kick that for 2022 if we want, using maybe the 2021 guide with minor updates. I don't know what necessarily needs to be updated, but I think in perpetuity we need a digital version, and we don't need more than a couple thousand print versions, because the biggest recipient of the visitors guides was Explore Minnesota. That's 1,500. I believe this is an assumption. You guys probably are a little more in the know in determining what number to order for the visitors guides. When you start off your campaign and you get an order request for 1,500, that kind of makes you think you should get more, but it's 1,500 to Explore Minnesota, maybe 1,000 for our local region, and then a couple hundred more for places that are highlighted as nice recipients of that. Because, you know, we got rid of so many in such a short period of time, just basically making people take them. You can go up and down our main street now and people still have their boxes unopened. So we have about 3,000 here in City Hall, and I believe there might be over 1,000 just sitting on Main Street right now.
So if you had a digital version of it, would that be on the city webpage then?
We do currently have a version on the city's website, but I think the problem is that the only place. So people aren't going to our website, or I mean, even if I put it on our Facebook page, it'd be nice to see it and flip through it.
Can you see every
Yeah.
page?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing. I am the biggest advocate for this visitor guide, because I'm a road tripper.
Yep.
So I don't think people are going to know about our city of Zumbrota. The people that will be coming to visit our city without grabbing a print brochure or seeing something at these Explore Minnesota places.
I agree.
I agree. I don't think we need to take it to wherever we try to get rid of. I'm not sure how we came up with 10,000, but beside the point.
We did.
I do think that we need to do something. I think this past year was a kickstart that the EDA put in so much money. I think after this, I would like to see lesser dollars come from the EDA. I'm not 100% sure, and I know this is recorded, that I am thrilled with the peak rooms. You're like, I would love to see us source other things because it really should be a self-sufficient project. The person who we have given this business to the news record to say, we want this done. You seek the, people.
Advertising dollars.
Yeah, the businesses should be able to support this own visitor's guide. We just need the publisher to do it. Really, the EDA, other than having the few pages that talk about our city, shouldn't be putting that much money into it.
I agree.
So distribution, I didn't think needed to fall on the city. I assumed that would have fallen on the publisher as well.
So are there
So-
different publishers?
That
Are
was
there
my
different
first question.
publishers? Because I think I brought you the Lanesboro one, the small one, not their big one.
Yep.
What, and it's
I have a Rochester one.
so much nicer. Does that make sense? Like, it's just easy, like, everything about it is,
Quality paper.
yeah.
Well, that was another discussion. In order to save money, you can go with less quality paper because ours is pretty thick.
I don't know what that is, but
I
it,
don't know what it's
Felt like a-
plasticky kind of.
I
you know.
mean, Steve Tice printed them, I'm
Yep,
pretty sure.
Steve
Printed
Tice.
on the same as that, it's like our
right,
community
so
brochures.
are there companies that do this? Are there
He's gotta have
advertising
it.
companies that create visitor guides? And maybe that's what we need. Like this year, just let's not do anything. Let's not do digital. Let's not use up the ones we have and then spend the next 6 months figuring out what we're gonna do for 2023.
That's what I'm saying. I believe there should always be physical copies, but because we have a surplus of physical copies, just not for 2022. Because I feel like if you order more and we have outdated ones, those ones are just going to end up getting thrown away. Why would you, take a year-old visitor's guide? But every year, let's say you ordered 3,000 visitors guide, plus you have the digital version available for those requests. Obviously, every year it can increase if you sell out, but until we sell out, we should not be ordering more. Especially when we have such an abundance.
If you wanted to keep it, that you had something physical to have, I mean, you could do just like a flyer card with a QR code on it. That would take you to the digital version, but you would still be able to have something physical at a location that somebody could see and grab and take with them.
Yeah, it should have a
Save
QR
money,
code.
too.
That'd be nice if it did.
So if I were to search and go to Explore Minnesota, for instance, is there any way that I could we could link to Explore Minnesota's site so that if I see something on Zumbrota, I can click up from there to our digital version?
We are on Explore Minnesota.
Okay,
With
with the digital version that we've been talking about?
So that was a couple months back and forth with them to get our current digital version
Yep.
on because what they had was outdated, year-old information.
Sure.
And every month they say they would do it, they'd say they'd do it type of thing. But no, we're on there now.
Good.
So, yeah, we're one of the, you can go and Explore Minnesota
So the mobile version, Lindsay's gonna tell you in about 35 seconds.
Oh,
Tell me so well.
of the visitor's
So I was
guide.
just about to do the same thing. I was like, oh wait. In her hand already.
Well, we have an app now too. Can it go on the app, the PDF version or no?
Well, okay, so the app essentially just brings you two things within the website.
Oh,
So I
So it
believe
could
I
be.
have it as an item
yeah.
in my list.
So you have to download it as a PDF. It's not like when digital
Correct.
catalogs come and you can
Correct.
literally flip the page.
Correct. No, it's a
Ebooks or
PDF.
something.
It's a,
Yep, it's a PDF.
So when you talk about a
Statement.
digital version,
I want
and
that. I want
you're talking about the dollars needed to update the digital version, that's
Uh,
already in existence.
Correct, on a yearly basis,
Yep.
because back to Lindsay's point, businesses might have a bigger coupon on their
Mhm.
advertisement. It should be updated yearly, but,
Sure.
and I will say, so some of my findings from the visitors guides information, and I brought a list with. In reaching out to chambers of commerce, city hall, tourism centers, tourism bureaus, some cities, standalone economic development authorities, things of that nature. 9 point something out of 10 did not want one. Of those that wanted, they did not want more than perhaps a dozen. My biggest order was 20. And I believe that was from, I want to say Good Hue. Like the city of Red Wing and Hastings, they both wanted, one wanted 8, one wanted 10. But of those that wanted some, most of those wanted, do you have a digital version?
There was a location in Duluth. Didn't they get like 3 boxes from us?
I think, wasn't it 2 and then one got sent back and then they wanted another one?
Yes,
Yeah.
so they got 2 full boxes because they were going through them really well up there. Otherwise, we didn't get too many calls wanting more.
I got a call saying that they didn't order any.
And they got some.
Well,
That's all right, you can keep them.
Yeah. But no, the Duluth is one of the ones under the umbrella of Explore Minnesota too, because Explore Minnesota allocated certain spots around the state where people signed up to receive these. The Duluth one was a nice one because they wanted,
But they have a nice big visitor center there.
do they? Never been there. I've been to Duluth, not the visitor center.
so Lindsay, as a big promoter of this book, are you okay with one not being published in 22 since we've got 3,000 left?
As long as we don't keep sitting on those 3,000. Like, I think they need to be distributed.
Sure.
Well, if we do it this year and sit on them for this year, and if they don't get distributed, we can still move ahead with the
2023.
upgrade and
Yeah.
chuck the other ones. I mean, we can't keep them forever, obviously.
Right.
So I think plan that we've utilized or put in place here, suggestions, is we don't do anything this year, and we move ahead next year with the more digital version and a limited number of print copies. I will
But I
make that a
also
motion.
think we need to look at a different publisher then too, and look at
100%
all
agree.
avenues.
I agree.
Pardon?
100% agree with Lindsay on that one. So is Brian.
I made that a motion. Is there a
Perfect.
second?
Second.
Motion's made.
Publisher.
And add that to it.
So digital version, limited print version, a new publisher for 2023.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. All right, let's move on. EDA budget.
So we already kind of spoke about this. It's just, we finally got over that 20 mark last Tuesday, which was kind of what we were waiting for since last month, bringing it before us at the meeting. I believe we have 23 people wanting to sign up, so we'll save some money. And shortly here, we'll sign up for that. And what I'll do is I'll probably email you guys out. I don't know if it's a link, or maybe I'll email you the link if you need to
Code or
sign up.
something.
I don't, I haven't gotten to that next page of starting to purchase yet because we're trying to get the number. But I'll, I won't say that for next month meeting. I'll just email it out and everybody can take it at their leisure.
Perfect.
But yeah, that's the update there.
Okay. New business recognition, you've got them listed.
Yes. So last month I brought those plaques before that we saw with pretty nice. And right after that meeting, I reached out to the entities you see here in the bulletized list. And funny enough, only 2 of them got back to me with availability. One of which said they'll get back to me at a later time with availability of those 2. But the one that responded that they're free on Wednesdays and Fridays, I wanted to take the business's availability to then, whether it's me and Brian are here, or if Todd could come as the mayor would be nice, and then the news record. So I met with the news record. They were on board, but then didn't respond to availability request. Long story short, it's going to go out there. I mean, even if we have to stop, people can get a plaque, but I would like it. I envision it as, representation, whether if anybody here wanted to come for a business visit, me, Brian, Todd, news record for a photo op, that just is nice to me, and then hand them a plaque and take a picture, see their place. But I'm trying to work out all those pieces before I just have to one day stop off and dropping off plaques, because that's not as fun for me.
And I know that the news record is receptive to submitted photos, so.
Oh, okay.
So if you take a photo and submit it to them, they'll, put it in the paper.
Sure.
They won't probably do a full
Yeah.
write-up on it, but at least they'll get the picture in there with a caption.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And in fact, you probably have to do your own write-up too.
I was gonna say, well, they've already done write-ups on all these businesses, so.
Yeah.
They've already done big articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So it's
just a
just
matter of
photo.
getting the picture in the paper.
Just a little caption under the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that?
New business opened up just a little over a week ago, the Java Junction, so they'll be added to this list, shortly as well. I don't know when the Tranquility Barn is going to open. I haven't heard
They
anywhere.
don't know.
That's
Long ways away.
That's what I've-
Haven't got the roof done yet.
And they're putting, looks like they're putting an addition on the back.
Yep, they are 1,500 square foot addition.
Wow.
Wow.
That's what the building permit says. We just had this discussion earlier today.
We argued about this today.
Okay, Community County Housing Summit?
Yeah, the update on this is, I mentioned this before, but the past few months I've served on a committee for the Goodhue County Housing Summit. It's an annual summit, usually in person at a conference, but this year I'm still being a webinar. And that just concluded last week. There was a 7-week course. There's a bunch of interesting topics. I've emailed it out before. I don't know if you saw that email, but if you guys are interested in some of the hot 2021 housing topics, all the recordings are available on their website. I have it linked there. I don't know if you can click it, but just let me know if you're interested. But just some highlights from that. Some topics that I've taken an interest in are, there's a big focus on affordable housing right now, not just countywide, but not statewide, nationwide, because of the increase in housing prices. And we don't have much to help affordable housing currently, and that's a process that would take a long time to start. But through this housing summit, I've become familiar with some resources, let's say, county HRA, Red Wing HRA, things of that nature. So that's one of them. And then it's kind of on the same breath as the housing trust. So that's another added to the list in the future. Sometime we can exercise or allocate rather funds to leverage with bigger pools of funds, because we don't have the capacity to have a HRA or our own housing trust, but it would be nice to do it in the future. So that's my update there.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Comments? Dylan, would you in a couple weeks send out a reminder email to all the membership, and maybe even an addendum with these budget things again, so that we can remember to get our questions in order and submit them back to you or to Kim?
Yep.
Otherwise, all of a sudden it's a month later and we've all
Right.
forgotten, or I do anyway, and it's like,
Well,
oh, I should have done that and I didn't. Be a good reminder, a couple weeks.
Okay.
And the other thing is, before you have your big shot meeting tomorrow, you guys should change your clock.
Yep. I think I'm gonna grab a ladder.
Woo!
Attention to detail.
Right? Like, yeah, I'm telling you. Oh,
And finally, have a good Thanksgiving. Meeting's adjourned.
Like, that's versus bedtime. That abuse is on
Oh.
camera. at all. As long as you have somebody here.